The stock market over the past few days and weeks has had a really nice bounce back from what we thought was a stock market crash. And it looks like we're leading into that Santa rally, maybe pushing all-time highs potentially this week. We're going to be going over what's happening as far as data, because this is delayed, just to let you know, because of the government shutdown. So we're getting September's data here. We'll get October's data pretty soon, and ideally set us up for that rate cut that is coming in not this coming week, but the week after. It's looking like we're going to get a pretty solid end to the year. And again, I do think beginning of the year, we could see a little bit of a slowdown. So I think the money making opportunity, the focus with some of these stocks is right now into the early parts of January. And I do think we're going to see a slowdown of rate cuts, or the idea of rate cuts, as we go into January, February, and into March, until really Powell is out of the office again. So again, we have a lot to attack, a lot to cover, best opportunities. Let's get to it. So the first thing I want to talk about is core inflation here, core PCE inflation. And some of you guys, let's just look this up real quick. So just type in PCE investing, go to investing.com, core PCE year over year. Let's look at this really quick. So again, some of you guys, I think I'm manipulating something, nitpicking what I'm looking at. Let's look at the facts, right? Some of you guys let's look at the facts. And we look at PCE, what's happened. Remember those reports we were seeing that inflation is surging. This is the fastest we've risen in years, right? Yeah. So you can see that obviously we have the fastest decline we've had in years, right? Straight down, right? And we kind of saw some stagnation here on PCE, right? 2024 into the beginning parts of 2025, a little bit of a spike here right now. You can go look at CPI as well, but the Fed's words, not mine, have said, specifically Powell, that PCE is the best metric of looking at inflation, where we're at overall. And so you can see that we've really just been flat from basically 2024 to now. Now, what I also want to say is some of these people that are, I don't like to get political, but I just talk about the facts out there, okay? And I see a lot of the comments here, and I like to respond to them. So some people are like, well, inflation's still going crazy because Donald Trump's tariffs and this and that, and I don't want the stimulus or this. Guys, I could care less about what you want, what I like, what I want, whatever. I just talk about the facts out there. If Trump's tariffs are so bad, making inflation spike, why isn't it spiking higher? I mean, you can go look at core CPI as well, in PPI, all that. Go look at how much it spiked. It hasn't really done much. I'm just saying. And the other idea is, well, what happens when, tariffs continue to scale back like they currently are in a lot of these countries as people get in line? Don't you think that inflation will subside as well? Well, the Fed agrees. The Fed has said that it's looking totally transitory. The second it's taken off, it's going to just pass right through. Again, Fed's been wrong before, but worth mentioning. Again, I'm quoting the Fed, quoting the government, quoting what's actually happening, not our feelings, not our emotions. And people aren't going to like that, but that's how you have to play the game if you want to invest, in my personal opinion. So again, when we look at the market, and again, I want to go more into SPY and QQQ first and look here. When we look at this, let's really identify where we're at and kind of how we're moving. Okay. And so let's go to the daily and go to some higher time frames. Okay. And as you can see, we look very, very impressive. Before we do this, I want to say one thing, special shout out. If you want to see what we're trading, how we're trading every day, the Discord link is down below. You get access to, obviously, to what we're looking at with futures every day, where we go into our watch list from Jordan, who runs everything with me, our trade ideas, more for swing trades, everything along those lines. Then you go into technicals for our scalps, all those setups as well. Profits are there. You can do what you got to do. The link is down below. Check it out. Again, I also recommend, look, I try to make as much content so there's never like a paywall. So if you just want to watch all the content, you'll get a lot of the information. I recommend checking out Twitter as well. So you can see I post all of my information there, a lot of the updates here from YouTube. I post them on there as well. I post more short form content on there, so you get quick updates throughout the day, what I'm looking at. So again, it's all there for you, financials, etc. Do what you got to do. Now, when we go back into SPY, let's identify a few things. And I've talked about this a lot on Twitter recently. Now, number one, we're going to just, I'm going to take a step back and give us a whole view, and then we'll, go a little bit further. Okay. So number one, let's identify where SPY has gone the past few weeks. Now, this is our September 11th, right? September 11th spot. And you can see September 17th, the 26th, October 13th, 14th. This is when Trump started mentioning the tariff stuff on China again. He spiked right through. And then more recently, November 20th, 21st, right there as well. Finding support at the same spot, okay? And as you can see, you're finding support there. Now, what people were saying, what they were saying, going into Thanksgiving week, et cetera, was, well, you're moving on low volume, okay? You're low volume. And when people, I do think low volume can be a problem. I agree. And I think that typically holiday weeks are poor. But that was a great Thanksgiving break, I'm not gonna lie to you. But where people, if you're going to justify and use an argument such as volume being an issue, then I think you have to use both sides of the trade. I try to be transparent. I try to see both sides, be unbiased. So when we look here, let's look at the daily volume on SPY. And I think you're going to get some clear answers here. And this is something that I've been very adamant and focused on, right? When you zoom out on this year, really some of the this is your highest volume was down here at 653 when you hit your low. As you can see, it was the highest volume going all the way back to the tariff tantrum, the tariff collapse, right? When we bottomed down there. Now, what you're going to notice, and I say this all the time, is stopping volume. Explanation of what stopping volume is, and I've said it here a few times, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it's basically when you're seeing, again, people think that you have to have rising volume if you're in a trend. You don't have to, okay? But what you're really looking for, in my personal opinion, let's be clear about this, right? My personal opinion is when you're looking at volume, like I always say, there's basically two spots of where you're looking to see an increase, right? It's very simple. Usually on a reversal or a breakout. That's generally what you're looking for, right? So if you are, let's say you're a stock, we're a SPY, we're pushing up, we break out, you're going to see increased volume on that breakout. Typically, it'll slow down until we get into a next level of resistance, and it usually perks back up as you reverse back down. That is typically what happens. Or if you go look at the overall volume as well on SPY, you can see that you had some spiking volume obviously there when you started reversing, right? Spiking volume, and then it spiked the highest at lows when you reversed once again. And we've had pretty low volume back to the upside. Worth mentioning. If you look at most of the run that we've had, it wasn't on crazy volume with the SPY, okay? So you don't need to have crazy high volume to move in a trend because you're not going against anybody. You're just going in a straight line to the upside. Just slow, consistent action, right? And so that's what's happened here on SPY. Is basically, again, my interpretation of this is you broke down. We had a large amount of stopping volume, stopping action, reversing the action, and then buyer stepped in and we just gradually have continued moving up. Now, the craziest part of this is when we go look at actually like kind of what's happened, behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is looking more like the hourly charts, right? And understanding when sellers try to step in, what's happening. And if you look at the hourly charts, there's a few wicks like here in the 24th, some action back here, but you have to go like to smaller time frames. And when you go like to the 15-minute, you can really see that sellers are like try to push you down, but he's bounced back up. And sometimes looking at futures like ES is a better example because you're getting more action overnight, etc. And you can see a lot more of these wicks where you're just really stair stepping to the upside. And again, if you familiar with this channel at all, what do we want to see for a trend in our direction? For being bullish, we want to see higher highs and higher lows. That's the very definition of a bullish trend. So when you're looking at this, it's almost impossible for me to look at this as from a bearish lens. Now, someone's like, oh, this is a wedge, I'm like, just looking at the action. Like if you start making a lower low, let's get aggressive on the sell side, but you're not. And that's the craziest part about this is how you're moving to the upside. NASDAQ as well, higher highs and higher lows. In NASDAQ, you're seeing a lot more of these wicks of some aggressive selling. There's no follow through and then immediate bounce back up. Aggressive selling, no follow through, a bounce back up. And what I mean by no follow through is you're not breaking lows. You're not making lower lows, which constitutes and what you look for a downside. And when we were so bearish, when we were trading the downside, you were getting just that. You'd break lows, bounce back up, break lows again, and you get follow through. Aggressive selling, get some follow through, right? And that's what you're doing, making lower lows and lower highs. That is what you wanted to see for that downside momentum. And so it's important to see that the trend, in my opinion, in the short term has clearly changed, right? Now, ultimately, where we would get really bearish, is ultimately below the 200 SMA. But you've also seen us start to reclaim the 50-day moving average, which if you look back over the past year, again, this is NASDAQ. I can go into SPY and QQQ. We are reclaiming that 50-day moving average, which has been our line in the sand. So we got below it, remounted it. You look solid, pushing back into highs. Again, that is what you like to, that's what you want to see overall. Again, holding that support where we've really just been trending very aggressively. The same thing happened again in previous years where we were grinding above it. We lost it for a little bit and then got back above it and continued our trend. Again, worth mentioning, worth watching. So I'm not using the moving averages as sole indicators, but it's important to understand where you're at and kind of how you're trending there. The QQQ looks the exact same, very aggressive, very strong. So again, as we look at that just for the facts of what it is, what's happening with SPY, what's happening with Qs, you look good, right? I'm not manipulating, I'm not nitpicking. I'm just going back and looking at said data. Now, the areas that you really need to hold, I want to make this really clear as well. To stay net bullish, right? Continued upside, not being concerned really at all, is can we continue to hold these previous highs from October 10th, October 11th? Now, again, I like using SPY, I like using QQQ, but I will say I'm going to be more focused for myself on futures here. So you can still use these levels, 674 on SPY, for QQQ, 613. Okay, those are your big levels. Now, again, I do believe, and I focus more on futures because I think they give you more of an exact level to watch, okay? So when you're looking here, those same levels for NASDAQ would be 25.4, and then going into ES SPY futures back into 68.12. I'd write those down, I'd mark those out, because as long as you stay there and hold that as a support, you're very bullish. And as you can see here, SPY has clearly done that. On the daily chart, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles just mounted above that level. NASDAQ, pretty impressive too as well, 25.4, about 2, 3 candles touching that level as well. I think ES is more impressive, NASDAQ still very impressive, okay? So that's where we're at right now as a whole, looking at the market, right? Just broad, what's happening there. Now, where things get crazier is we look at what's really held us. And I think it's important, I talk about a lot of the same things a lot so people really understand. I think we sometimes can get maybe distracted by, other ideas, other, opportunities, etc. But I think it's very important, and two of the biggest, sectors that I've covered, or ETFs, I guess, right, is semiconductors and tech overall. Okay, so tech overall would be XLK, semiconductors, sure, just drawings, don't care. Okay, right there, and then SMH for semis, XLK for tech. Now, I've also gone into some pretty big examples here as well as far as the holdings. I use Fiscal AI to go over a lot of this. Again, this is a pretty cool just research platform. You guys can check it out if you want. But again, going into SMH, I think a lot of people are obsessed with SOXX. I don't really understand why. This gives you a really good representation of the actual holdings inside of SMH. So you can see, I think NVIDIA and AVGO, TSM should be your largest holdings. So again, that's why I'm more focused here, because those are the most important semis. If you go into SOXX, the holdings are a little bit different, and I don't like the balance here. It doesn't make as much sense to me. Personal opinion, why AMD is the largest holding in SMH, that's beyond my understanding. Very stupid. So I would rather track SMH, I think it's more relative. XLK, so you can see those names. I haven't gone over XLK here before, I don't think, but you guys can see as well as you zoom in here. NVIDIA is a large holding, Apple, Microsoft, AVGO. Really, most of your biggest names in the NASDAQ are in here as well, right? Palantir is a big holding, AMD. There's a lot, right? More speculative names in there as well, but a lot of the things have carried the market. And I do believe SMH and XLK have carried the market over the past 2 to 3 years, give or take, since 2022. They've had the biggest boom. So I think it's important that we're tracking them, okay? Now, when we look at SMH, it's interesting to see, and I've talked about this a lot, this is your range. I'm looking at a higher time frame daily chart. You can see that you're sitting between 349, 350, and lows of 330, right? Bouncing back and forth. When you were very bearish, you broke down below, it was bad, but now you're getting back to being bullish and you're breaking out. And the craziest part about this, in my personal opinion, is that you're already almost back into all-time highs on semiconductors. Again, I've hammered this home a million times, but you're at these levels on SMH, but NVIDIA is not even breaking above 184. Like, NVIDIA is rejecting at 184 still. How is SMH pushing so hard after I just showed you? You're like, Tyler, you just showed me that SMH, right? Biggest holdings NVIDIA, right? That just goes to show you all these other names are getting a lot of love. Specifically, AVGO, TSM really winning off that Google TPU deal with Meta, and some of the stuff that's going on currently, I believe, with Amazon, with their deal as well. I think ARM, TSM's working with them as well. So check that out. But worth mentioning, you're seeing a lot of these other companies get a lot of love, and people are like, well, this is bad for NVIDIA. It's going to take their market share. No, it's not. It's not. NVIDIA's sales are still credible. That's a stupid mentality to have. Go look at the facts, go look at the data, go look at the product. They're still the best product out there. But you're seeing all these other companies show that, look, the market's big enough, the demand's that large. So it's important to understand what's happening out there. And so when we look at this, I go back to SMH and I look at what's happening, man, when NVIDIA breaks out, SMH is going to absolutely go fucking nuts. What's going to be crazier is looking at XLK. You look at XLK breaking out as well. We've covered this the past few days, but XLK hasn't been breaking out. It just started breaking out on Friday. Again, I'm not manipulating anything. These are the same levels we've been tracking, same levels we've been watching. So again, it's important that we have a true understanding of where we're at, how we're moving, etc. This looks pretty damn solid on XLK as well. I'm going to tell you right now, as you're starting to break out here. And you have to assume that, again, once NVIDIA starts breaking out here, it's going to really start propping these up as well and getting the momentum in the names in this in the sector as well. So NVIDIA goes up, it's probably going to help Apple. It's going to help these other names behind it as well, which have been some followers. But again, it's worth mentioning looking at Apple. Now, another big thing is what's happening with Apple. Apple's just had its all-time high push, which has been incredible, right? Apple's looking phenomenal, pushing up very strong, getting a BRB off its previous all-time high here, which I think is one of the bigger opportunities right now. One of my top trades I'm looking at next week, 277, 278, a bounce, pushing back towards highs. Ideally, we'll see what happens as far as volume is concerned and if we can get that follow through. But just as a whole, the market looks good. Again, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible when I'm looking at this, but all the major signs of what I'm looking at, right? And breaking what are all the major signs? I'm looking at all the signs that have got us from where we were to where we are, right? And what does that mean, right? So what has gotten SPY, and I think this is if you're not looking at it this way, I don't know how you're not being unbiased, but what has gotten us from, again, just the tariffs from Donald Trump, right? He announces tariffs, Liberation Day, we crash, we bounce back up. What's gotten us from 500 on SPY to almost 700? What's done it? What's been the factor, right? Again, I will still say it's semiconductors, the data centers, and what's happened with tech continuing to thrive, continue to see those margins. Now, when we look at also what behind the scenes of that as well, it's important to understand, something you guys have seen me talk about is the combined revenue of the Mag 7. And we've talked a lot about how quarter number 3 is outperforming quarter number 4 of 2024. It's very rare that you see usually quarter number 4 is always your best quarter, right? But it's usually your highest performing, and that usually performs every other quarter besides quarter number 4 of the previous year. Giving you an example, quarter number 4 of 2020 outperformed quarter number 3 of 2021. Quarter number 4 of 2021 outperformed quarter number 3 of 2022. Quarter number 4 of 2023, right? You can see the list goes on, right? 2022 outperformed quarter number 3 of, right? But more recently, that trend has changed, signifying that quarter number 4 is probably going to be freaking insane because quarter 4 of 2024 did not outperform quarter 3 of 2025. I want you also to realize quarter number 3 of 2024 wasn't bad. It was pretty good. Okay. That was when Trump was getting elected. That's when crypto was at all-time highs. That's when the market was literally going vertical. Tesla went up like $200 in like 3 weeks. It was insane. The market was going insane. So it's important that we are understanding what's happening. But quarter number 3 of this year is breaking that trend and is actually performing better than that quarter of last year, which I don't think people are focused on. Now, this is where also things get crazy for me. Well, this is spend. This is how much the Mag 7 companies are spending out there. And I think people are putting this as a net negative. And I can see how this could be bad. I agree. I can see the problem. I can see the issue. I can see what people are concerned about potentially. But when I look at this, the one thing that I look at is, okay, this is how much companies are looking to spend over the next quarter, next year, whatever, right? CapEx. And they're using this basically as a viewpoint. We're spending to grow. We're spending this to make money. Everyone is saying that, number one, AI, data centers, all this shit is a bubble, right? It's all just a crazy, crazy bubble. Now, let's say that it is. I'm going to play the game of like, okay, this is a nasty bubble. We're going to crash. What's going to be the sign? In my personal opinion, let's think about this logically from a viewpoint of where we're at in the market and where we're going to go, right? Not about what we feel, right? Logically thinking. Do you not think that data centers, one of the top ticking signals, will be companies spending less money on data center output and production and uses? Wouldn't that be a top signal for AI in the bubble? Because the funding process is stopping. Now people are like, well, they're not going to be profitable in the next 3 years. Maybe that's true. Maybe they won't be profitable in the next 3 years. Their plan, whatever it's going to be, okay? But you're not going to know right now. And I think that's the problem. Everyone's like, oh, well, the numbers aren't adding up, this, that, and the other. I'm like, sure, maybe. But when you're 4 years early to the bubble, or 2 years or a year early, unless you have a lot of money and you're able to add in, average in, roll out contracts, etc., you're probably going to lose a lot of money. And just looking at overall spend upticking here, I don't think it's going to slow down into the next quarter. Companies are still reporting record numbers. Like I just showed you, quarter number 4 is going to be record numbers. Once again, they're showing increased overall revenue, great outlooks, more and more investing is being dumped in. Now, are there names that are over leveraged? Yes, I agree. Are there names that are playing dangerous games as far as depreciation? Yes, we've covered all that. But you're not going to see that stuff start to surface until the issues start to like hit ahead. I think that's the important part. And again, people are like, well, Tyler, what are you saying? You're saying like, keep riding the hype, keep riding the momentum. Yes, that's entirely what I'm saying. You have pure hype, pure momentum. You have a president that's willing to do just about anything to keep the market afloat, right? It's funny. You even have, Congress or the House writing up plans to avoid him from allowing NVIDIA to start selling, which is hilarious, right? So Trump is playing this game of like, well, NVIDIA can't sell chips to China. Well, maybe you can. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't. And the second the markets are dipping, he was like, you know what, guys? Hey, I might start letting NVIDIA sell some chips to China. Trump was not going to let this market crash. I'm telling you right now. He's not going to let it happen. And people are getting mad. They hate that. They're like, Tyler, you're a Trumper. I'm a realist. I like to make money in the market. You come to this channel because you like to hopefully make money in the market as well. That's, I would assume, why you show up here, right? People hate me, they love me, whatever it is. But I'm going to stick it and say it like it is, right? I'm not going to BS you. When you're looking at this, there's no evidence that right now you've topped out. The revenues, the numbers aren't looking bad. They're not slowing down. Once you see the slowdown, that's your top signal. But right now, it's full steam ahead. So when I'm looking at the market, again, you look phenomenal. So when we go back to the names that are growing, the names that have potential, let's go into this coming week, what I'm looking at, etc. Number one, okay, we're going to be looking at Apple. Like I just said, one of my top names, 277, 278. You hold that level, you're looking for the bounce back to the upside. I love it. Number two, PLTR, man. PLTR has been on a tear, and I've seen your favorite influencers are all trying to short. It's crazy. I don't know why people are trying to short Palantir right now. It makes no sense. Again, if you follow me on Twitter, I have kept you guys up to date as much as possible on these names. I literally can't do anymore. Palantir. We literally said it back here. Mounting 170 was nice, but remounting 176 is key. Room into 186, 189. Posted on Twitter for free. Wasn't gatekeeping for Discord. Posted in Discord as well, but you can see above 176, what happens? You mount the level and you're just stair stepping back up. Again, we highlighted this. We went short under 169, 170. You drop down to both of our levels. Thank God. That was awesome. But again, remounting, stair stepping back up. We start falling in love with trades and setups. And it's like, dude, if you missed out on the opportunity, just wait until you get back below 170 to go short. There's no reason. It's a stupid trade. So again, yeah, Palantir very strong. Probably looking for 188 to be honest, to 190. You're getting above your 50 MA as well. Looks pretty damn solid. Another big name I'm watching here is going to be ASML. And I would be careful here. You're really going to try to be patient until you can get back above 110. Above 110, very bullish. I think this could push back up. Already exited this trade. We did end up trading this one in Discord just to give you a heads up. You guys can see the trade ideas. This was one of the monster trades that we had, but yeah, this one literally went vertical. So yeah, one of the great trades we had of last week. But again, crazy run, but back above 1110, I think you're very strong. I've gone into detail about this company plenty of times. Check out Twitter, have a lot of stuff on there, but yeah, big fan of them. Looks really, really solid. AVGO, simple trade. Easy to watch here, okay? Mapping this out for you. Let's go to like the 2 hours so you can see. Above 186, you look really good. Below 183 and 386, sorry. Above 386, you look good. Below it, I'm not touching it, okay? But if you hold 386, you can see on the 15-minute, look at all the support you've had there, okay? Even back here. So you had a break, retest, pushing up. So you look really solid. You do have some resistance, though, here on AVGO around 393 roughly. So be careful. There's a little bit of a range. Above that, I think you're pushing into 399, 398. Easy. Would I be looking there? Very strong name. Looks solid. Definitely watching it. CrowdStrike. Big fan of what they're doing here. This is one of the only trades that didn't take off, didn't have a crazy return for me this past week, which sucks. But as you mount 517, I'm very bullish on this name into 535, maybe even 540. Had really solid earnings, great growth. Big fan of what they're doing. They look really solid above 517. Again, I love it. I'm a huge fan. Discord guys, you guys know I love this name. Another name is Microsoft. So Microsoft got a case of just crazy, stupid news. So someone came out, basically posted fake news on Twitter. I even posted all about it. And then it came out like, oh, that didn't happen. Okay. So Microsoft starts to hold above 383, looking for 388, 389, and then towards 492, 488, 489, and to 492. That is what I want to see there. Above 492, you're pushing into 500 easy. This just is beat up for no reason. Great name, looking really good. Definitely watching it. I'm done with Meta. Talked about this all past few weeks. Got above 602, 600, pushed into 200 SMA. Looks great. Looks really solid. One of the top names, I mentioned it in last night's video, is going to be Netflix. I'm being careful on Netflix. Once you get above 106.5, it's going to be a hammer. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But I still think Netflix here is a great opportunity. You're seeing downside from the acquisition news of Warner Bros. I think Netflix is phenomenal. I think their earnings, I've been saying like they were gonna have downside from earnings. It was bad, whatever. I like what they're doing here though now. Big fan of this, big win for them, especially if this, goes through. Love what they're doing. If you stay below 100, be careful, don't touch it. Room to $94, then ultimately down to 84 to 82. But again, I'm not shorting it right now. If you get below 100, I might short it down. But again, I'm looking for the hold, looking for it to get back to the upside. Again, I know this is one of those middle ground, like Tyler, you're talking about the up and the downside. I am. It's a name you have to watch close. If you don't understand what I said, then don't trade it. But yeah, worth mentioning, worth talking about there as well. Okay. One of the other names I mentioned in last night's video is going to be CRM. Now, CRM has sat in the buy zone for a while. Okay. They reported earnings. Did well, right? If you mount the 200 SMA here at 260, 259, I'm looking for a push into 275 to 273. Easy. One of my top trades in the next week as well. Great earnings. And people always get like obsessed with earnings, trading earnings. And I'm going to tell you, the best trades from earnings happen after earnings. Not the day, like immediately after, but the next few days, few weeks. Because and think about it logically. Sometimes you get great earnings and you just shoot straight up and I missed. No. Who cares? Right? And typically you see a sell-off from that as well, unless it's like a major company like NVIDIA. Okay. But when you're looking at these stocks, go take a look at companies that have had great runs after earnings. Netflix is one of the best ones to actually track. You get nice dips after earnings and you set a buy opportunity to go crazy. CRM is another great example here. Have earnings, kind of stagnate, you're going crazy. Again, these companies, the reason I talked about them, and a lot of the companies I tell you that are beat up, like Meta, for instance, is the numbers just start to make sense when you look at them. PE ratios, where they're at, if they're undervalued, and like you have to understand how much money they're actually bringing in. And we've gone over CRM. I posted it on Twitter as well. Check them out. But again, I love it. This is a great name, phenomenal name, good growth, reoccurring revenues. Love to see it. I think the annual reoccurring revenue is up around on their Data 360 and their other, I forgot the name of it, but their two leading platforms that are their new growth platforms that are for reoccurring revenue are up over 100% in the last year, which is great to see and what you want to see. So again, big fan. I think they could have great growth going into 2026 as well. Be watching for that towards 275. Top trade of the week there as well. Again, that's what I'm watching. Long video day. Have a good one, traders. Deep dive. See you in the next video.